What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So something's finally happening today because Democrats are going to pass the bill, or at least attempt to pass the bill later on today. So I want to address what's going on there and why this is such a big deal and why lawmakers are saying this is a major bill. Not just because the tax provisions in here, not just because the healthcare provisions in here, but the climate change. I want to address what's going on there. Also give you some facts regarding climate change here in the United States as well. At the end of today's video, I also am going to give you the new CDC recommendations as far as what do you do if you are a close contact. So some major changes are coming up right now, so let's address that in today's video. And all I ask, just take 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's continue. So here's what's happening today. Today, the House of Representatives will be back in Washington for a very brief moment. They will vote on the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. This bill was passed by the Senate last weekend, and all the House has to do is pretty much rubber stamp it. What we know is that some Democrats, they aren't really on board with this bill. They wish it was bigger, but at the same time, they're going to pass it. Some Democrats say that this isn't the bill that they wanted, but they will vote to pass this bill as something is better than nothing. Remember, I've told you this for months. Democrats have this saying that something is better than nothing. And in most cases it is. But at the same time, did they leave too much on the table? That's what some are saying, so we'll see. But Democrats also want the American people to know that their job is not done. Their job and providing for the American people, it hasn't been, accomplished. The goals that they've set out for themselves, they're not done with that. They say once the Inflation Reduction Act passes, and I fully expect it's going to pass without, many problems at all. But Democrats say they will attempt to do more for the American people. I want to point out one thing. Even though Democrats say once this passes, they will attempt to do more for the American people, this is going to be really tough to do if Democrats do not remain in control of the House and the Senate. If they remain in control of just one, it's going to be very difficult to get any bills passed. And this would be coming in 2023. I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's going to be a lot of things passed between September and December. I just don't. I think it's a lot of just going to be waiting around, talking, discussions, worried about the midterm election, and then just getting into 2023. That's what I fully anticipate. So just keep that in mind. Even though Democrats say, we're going to do more, it probably won't happen until 2023. And if Republicans, they win and they gain control of the House and the Senate, or even won, well, Republicans are going to have a lot of say in that, in what actually passes. So if you're wanting more benefits and potentially higher inflation, Democrats might be the way to go. You vote Democrat. If you want to see inflation come down, you get less benefits, you're not going to get taxed as much, that's going to be Republican. So again, it just depends on where you stand, but there are two sides. Now, one Democratic representative said that the Inflation Reduction Act is only a small piece of the Build Back Better Act. So, more must get passed. Even Representative Jim McGovern said, and I quote, "This is a big deal. This is historic, and I'm anxious to get it to the floor, pass it, and get it to the president's desk." And then he went on to say, and I quote, "People like me wanted a lot more, right? But the bottom line is you can only get done what's possible within the reality you're living. And in any other Congress, if we were to pass one of these things, one component of what is in the reconciliation bill, it would be huge." And it's true. The reason why this Congress is having such a difficult time is because they haven't got much passed in even, whether bipartisan or a partisan bill, they haven't done much. And so that's why they're saying that this would be a huge bill, even if it was just a tax portion, even if it's just the healthcare provisions, or even if it was just the climate change. Just one of these things would be huge. But right now, it's all three of these, and some are saying that no, it's not big enough. So again, we'll see. But I want to answer the question as to why is this bill potentially historic? Well, mainly because of the climate provisions within the bill, those climate components. Then I say this because if millions and millions of Americans ditch their gas-powered vehicles and switch to EV, this would have a huge impact on climate. It'd also have a huge impact on just the way the United States operates. And if millions of Americans decide to switch to and invest in things like solar, this is going to do even more. And especially in a time when multiple states, and really most of the United States, is currently experiencing a massive drought. Now I want to give you some facts on this, on the drought that we are currently in. And let me know if you know about any of these facts. It says 100% of California qualifies as abnormally dry. Another fact, a recent study shows that drought has a 75% chance of lasting through 2030. That is this drought. Climatologists say that climate change is to blame for roughly 42% of the drought since 2000. It's interesting because there are some government officials that say climate change is 100% to blame for the drought that we're currently in. But when climatologists are saying that no, it's roughly 42%, that's a major, major difference. We also know Lake Mead, which is one of the largest reservoirs here in the United States. It's at its lowest point in the past 85 years. And as a result of all these issues, the federal government has actually stepped in, cut about 7 billion gallons of water allocation to southern Nevada. Again, that's huge. And it's not just the United States. Europe is also getting hit hard by climate change and drought. And the reason why these are both major issues is because of what water does to our economy and what it does for our way of life. Water helps provide electricity through hydropower. It provides water, obviously use water, but it provides water to crops to help them grow, which which really is a necessity, right? And without sufficient water supply, we're going to have a major food shortage. We're going to have a major electricity shortage. And all these are going to come in the near future. But again, this is the problems that we're facing. And I've talked about this before, how, these different reservoirs get into their lowest points in years and decades, really. It's starting to take its toll on the American people, take its toll on farmers, and it's really hurting us. So we'll see what happens there. But again, all you got to do if you want to stay up to date on what's going on, whether it's with the drought, whether it's with congressional news, finances, whatever it is, all you got to do, first off, make sure you hit that like button and then click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Now, I want to fill you in on what's happening with the CDC guidance as of this morning. The CDC has stated that it will be rolling back its test to stay policy. This means that children who are around or were in close contact with somebody that did test positive, you do not have to test negative to stay in the classroom, at least. What the CDC is saying, as long as you don't have symptoms, you're fine. But if you do have symptoms, that you need to make sure that you quarantine for 5 days. Okay? For 5 days, test on the 6th, and then you can come back. Now, one of the things that the CDC does recommend is if you were a close contact, just wear a mask. Just wear a mask for 10 days, unless you experience symptoms. And then if you experience symptoms, reset the clock back to 5 days and quarantine. That's what they're saying. In the past, the CDC recommended everybody that was unvaccinated to get tested. That's not the case anymore. Okay? Because if you are just a close contact, whether you're unvaccinated or not, doesn't matter. As long as you don't have symptoms. That's all they're really saying. Now, right now, the CDC states that that quarantining after exposure is no longer necessary, again, unless you're experiencing symptoms or you test positive. That's the only reason you should even consider a quarantine. So the CDC is somewhat relaxing their guidance right now, which is good. We're getting back to normal. The only bad thing is they are relaxing their guidance right as children are going back to school. So what we can expect, at least according to reports, expect COVID cases to ramp back up. And even though they ramp back up, again, we see flu cases all the time where people have the flu, they got these little illnesses, this cough. And what we are trying to get to, and again, I know it's scary to some, but what we're trying to get to is, yes, we may be positive for COVID, and that's fine, as long as it doesn't result in a hospitalization and then ultimately a death. So as long as we keep the death rates extremely low, we keep hospitalizations extremely low, and we're not overloading the hospitals, that's fine that we do have COVID cases, all right? At least that's according to reports in the CDC as of this morning. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.